What's up, BJJ fans? Of course, the BJJ stands for Blind Judo Journey. My name is Miles Solomon, and I finally bought a microphone. Today, I really wanted to talk to you about what my history in judo and sports as a whole is, so you get a bit of a background on me. So, I picked up judo in 2018 when I was 19 at the start of university. I'm now 23. That was 4.5 years ago. I had done other sports before, quite a few, to be fair. None being any martial art or combat sport based. However, I had 6 years of experience in free running, so the art of moving through the urban environment with tricks and flips and efficiency. So yes, I can do a backflip. I might put some compilations of a few of my tricks here. So that definitely gave me a really good background knowledge in movement and spatial awareness, which was really helpful for me whilst joining judo. I'd also been a trampolining coach for 2 years, and I'd also been a skier for about 13, 14 years at that point. So I did have a good amount of sporting knowledge and physical awareness, yet no knowledge of judo or combat sports in itself. Didn't really have any particular fitness, especially my cardiovascular system. Didn't have any cardio. Was pretty strong, was pretty built, but like that was mostly due to just the free running itself. When I started judo, I started because I was walking through the Freshers' Fair at university, and I'd always wanted to start a martial arts. I had heard that judo was really good for visually impaired people. Didn't know too much about it, but apparently it was good for blind people because it was about grappling. So I walked past the martial arts section of the Freshers' Fair, and the coach who was stood at the Freshers' Fair table, Chris Doherty, said, "Excuse me, are you visually impaired?" I was taking my stick with me. I go, "Yeah." He goes, "I've got a sport that's going to change your life." And that was judo. I then went to the beginner's course, started it 2 days later, never looked back. I say I fell in love with judo twice. The first time was on the first day of the beginner's course. At the end of it, we did 30-second rounds of randori, just newaza, with only pins. And all I remember thinking is, wow, if this is what I get to do on the first day, what am I going to get to do in the future? I absolutely fell in love. One of the biggest things for me at that point was that the judo club was on the opposite side of town to where I was living in Somerville College, Oxford. So it was about, a mile away. So I had to walk it. And walking on my own through a city regularly was not something I did ever at the time. But I just decided, well, this is really fun, I might as well. So then I started my arduous journey of walking to and from the sports centre 5 times a week for the next 5 years. My dad said that I went from being at home and not wanting to go and buy a sandwich on my own to walking 2 miles every day with basically no gap in between. I completed the beginner's course and absolutely loved it. And I remember looking at one of the coaches, Chris Cannell. He was the uke, the person being thrown in all of the demonstrations. And I said to him afterwards, "Why is it always you being thrown?" And he said, "There's just as much skill in being thrown as there is in throwing." And at that moment, I vowed that I would one day be the uke on the beginner's course, which not only did I get to complete last year, I also got to coach on that beginner's course, which is an incredible dream come true, to be fair. After I completed that beginner's course, it was in Christmas. I went away for Christmas, came back at the start of January, and I had unlocked all of the possibilities, all of the sessions that were available to the higher grades. So I was a yellow belt at this point, and I went, I'm going to go to every single one. So I went to the 2 fundamentals classes a week, and I went to the competitive class on a Friday as well. A couple of days later, one of the coaches said, "We'd like to get you to British University Championships, which you need to be an orange belt for, which means you need to grade by then." Like, "Oh, okay, what do I need to do that?" And he's like, "Well, I'll start turning up to the Thursday randori sessions, which is 2 hours of sparring." I went to that, went to every single session, didn't miss a whole session in that term, I don't think. So after grading to my orange belt 3 days before British University Championships, I turned up with no knowledge of weight categories or how competitions really worked. I weighed in at 82 kilos. For reference, the categories that I've fought in at the moment are 81 kilos and 90 kilos. I weighed in 82, so I was by far the lightest in the category. But I won all of my fights, which was incredible. Here's actually my first ever judo match.
as we go from Middlesex in white, Niall Francis from Plymouth in blue.
Even better, this guy was from Cambridge. Possibly the best row I think I've ever done in a competition. I say the second time I fell in love with judo was this day when I won gold in the under-90s in the blue belt and under as an orange belt. Only an orange belt who'd been an orange belt for 3 days. I won, and I knew I was going to do judo for the rest of my life, and I was going to do everything I could to be as good as possible. My next big challenge was my coach said to me that the British Visually Impaired Championships were coming up, which, you know, is the British Open. It's the biggest visually impaired competition in the country. And he said he thought I could compete in it. Okay. So I spent ages making sure I was going to be the right weight, the right fitness. I was a green belt at this point, went into it. I was terrified that I was gonna just fail or, you know, do rubbish or whatever. And then I remember having a terrible night's sleep the night before. I turned up, I won every fight. In my first national competition, I won every fight. I was technically, officially called visually impaired national champion, which is insane. I became visually impaired national champion within 9 months of starting. I'm really proud of that, to be fair. And now that I look back at that, I've definitely had competitions that I fought harder in, but I think that was my first one where I was really proud. I also fought in the adaptive category, which is all disabilities, anything from mental, physical, any other disabilities of that nature. I took silver in that. That was my first ever loss. I remember saying to my coach before I walked onto the mat, I said, anything I should know about this guy? Does he fight in a certain way? Anything you should know? And he goes, just go out there and throw him. Okay, I'm just going to walk out there, fought the guy, gave a good showing. He beat me in about 1:30, which is, you know, pretty respectable. I was a green belt. I walked off, pretty gutted kind of thing. You know, I'd just had my first loss. And my coach says to me, don't worry too much. He's world champion. He was also a second dan black belt at the time. So, fair. I did a good showing. But yeah, that was my first year in judo. I then proceeded to grade to blue belt, compete in a few competitions, did British University Championships the next year as a blue belt in the under 81 kilo category. I took bronze in that. 81 kilos is a much more competitive category than 90 kilos. Then got my brown belt, and immediately there was a pandemic. Judo being a grappling sport became very not possible over lockdown. It was a really difficult time. I managed to go from 81 kilos up to 108 kilos. Yeah. Turns out when you stop doing 15 hours of combat sports a week, it becomes a little bit more difficult to control your weight. But once lockdown ended, we came back, and I was determined to get my black belt. So brown belt, I knew that I needed to, 1, lose some weight. I was still up around 100 kilos. And 2, I needed to improve and get back on the mat. This was about the time that I started Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I started BJJ when I was still a brown belt in judo. Really enjoyed it. It was great fun. It was really helped to improve my judo. I actually competed in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but I competed in an over 100 kilo category, which is stupid. I wasn't fit enough for it. I was severely overweight. I did actually start every fight by throwing my opponent. I'll see if I can find footage of that. Did end up only getting silver in that competition, but you know, it was a fair showing. Then I went to some more competitions, and I fought as 92 kilos in a Dan grading in High Wycombe. A year ago, the one almost exactly a year ago actually, it was the same event a year ago, and I fought 92 kilos, and I fought someone who was 150 kilos, and I just got injured. He was 150 kilos. One of the worst things about being blind is you don't know how big your opponent is until he sits on you. I just sprained both of my ankles within 20 seconds. Complete waste of time.
And then Declan, you'll be the next one after that when I talk that.
But it was a learning experience. It told me that I needed to be at the correct weight. So I got myself down to 81 kilos. And eventually earned my black belt by going to London and winning a lineup. I then fought in visually impaired nationals last summer, and I won all my fights. So I won nationals again there. They actually beat some good people that year. So I took gold at that, which was nice. And then I realized I needed to start competing at a high level, so I started going to more and more competitions. There is definitely a step up when you hit black belt and you try to fight at a national level. But I was pretty happy with how I was doing at the time. I was improving. And then I got invited by the power team to go to the Netherlands. This was last November. They asked if I wanted to go to the Netherlands to do the Dutch Open. Obviously my first international competition. So I was like, yeah, definitely. I got told this with 3 weeks of notice, happily. I was already at weight, I was already fighting because I actually fought the week before in a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu competition, which I won. I was really proud of that. That was as a white belt in a blue belt division. When you get a black belt in Judo, you have to fight as a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I did actually win that. There's a brilliant photo of two BJJ blue belts looking very sad, stood next to a blind white belt who's on the gold podium. No, I then went to the Netherlands. My first fight, I went in like 8 seconds. It was pretty quick. And second fight, I was against, I want to say, Oscar Wilhurst. He is from Sweden. At the time, he was 7th in the world in the under 90 kilo category. That's under 90s. I was 81 on the day. He was 90 kilos. I'm going to play that whole fight here.
Let's see that knee riser there, come on. Off we go, come on then Miles, strong on that sleeve. Come on then. Come on. Good, Miles. Alright, come on. Set it up. Good. Come on, work. Control the movement. Set it up, come on. Work him. Come on. Keep going, come on. Find it, come on. Keep going. Oh.
It's one of the fights I'm most proud of, I think, because I just beat someone who is world ranked, 7th in the world in the category 10 kilos heavier than me. I'm going to attempt to be at 73 kilos, so I will be in a much lighter category. And if I'm able to win fights against people bigger than me, then maybe I might actually be able to win fights against people my size. It's super encouraging. Then, earlier this year, I started going to the National Centre more, once a week usually, or once every other week, trying to train harder and harder and harder. But eventually bringing us up to now, when I've just managed to achieve my first gold in a sighted category in a Dan grade competition, being the one from a couple of weeks ago, and then achieved my 2nd degree black belt last week. So yeah, that's really my history of judo. The reason I started this channel was I really want to document my journey forwards from now, because I think there's hopefully going to be a lot coming up. The main goal at the moment is the European Championships. Admittedly, earlier this year I made a bucket list of things I wanted to achieve by the end of the year. I said I wanted my second Dan in Judo. I wanted that by October, and I got it in April, so that's ticked off already. Other than that, Europeans is coming up. I'm going to try and fight that 73s. That's also in the Netherlands. That'll be my first world ranking event. I'm really excited for it, but I want to make sure that I fight in Britain at 73 kilos before then. I think it will be quite intimidating to go abroad and fight internationally at a weight category I'm not used to. So I'm going to fight in the Jamie McDonald Cup in Walsall, Wolverhampton, in May, late May, so I think 7 weeks away. And I'm going to try and fight that at 73 kilos. We will see how that goes. I'm going to make a video in the future about my approach to weight and how I manage my weight throughout my life. There's a lot of judo coming up in the future. I will be going back to university and beginning coaching again in a couple of weeks. I will try and bring that to you. It would be really appreciated to all of you watching if you could like, comment, share, and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. I'm going to try and bring you more content, really aiming for a video a week at the moment. Until the next time, Saramade.